It's a quick highway drive with OpenPilot and Corolla. It's a 2020 Corolla and OpenPilot 0.7.10. So it's alpha software. And I've done another video where I drive around in the neighborhood. I am in a residential area right now, but I'm heading for the highway, and this mostly is to show OpenPilot on the highway. Now, in my previous video, I mentioned how OpenPilot does not do stop signs yet. Stop signs are stoplights. That's part of what will be added for the 1.0 release. Some of that may show up in 0.8, which is the next version. And so I disengaged it there at the stop sign by hitting the brake. Hitting the brake or gas will do that. And now I just hit resume. I'm going to adjust my speed up to 40, which is the speed limit in here, and I have the lane change feature turned off in OpenPilot. The way it works is if it's on as you do the turn signal and then you nudge the steering wheel, it'll go over to the next lane and take the next lane. But right now you can probably see the yellow triangle that's sensing the car in front of the follow car up there, and it will stop behind cars at intersections. But it will not stop for lights yet. But like I say, so I just disengage because I'm going to take this turn, and then I'm going to resume. Just like they may add, speed limit signs at some point. We'll see. And 40's way too fast for in here. I think this is 30. Might be 35. It's 35. And then you see up here, I don't know if you can see on the OpenPilot screen, but there is a school sign up here that's going to be 20. And so let me bump it down. There, 20 miles an hour. Now, I keep my hands up on the steering wheel and I just let OpenPilot steer, but I like to have my hands right up there in case I need to grab the wheel, take over. I can also assist steering. So on some turns, if the torque on the Toyota steering is not enough to make a sharp curve, I can assist a little bit. Generally, I don't have to. There's a few curves around here that do need help, but most of the roads, I wouldn't say the curves are gradual, but Toyota does pretty good with OpenPilot as far as being able to take most of the curves you'd run into on like a highway or something like that. Looks like I'm past the school zone here. So let me bump up to 35. And I will follow. As you see, you can see this truck in front of me. There's a pickup truck. It's got a yellow triangle. If that car was stopped, it would be red. I think it also uses orange sort of for in between. We'll see what it does here, but it should slowing down. It senses this car, and I am going to change lanes here. And get on the highway. So up here is the highway ramp, and they did have some code in OpenPilot at one time before I used it that would handle curves, but I guess it wasn't up to par, so they took it out, as far as on the curves slowing down. So they will add that back in before, a better version of that before the release, before the 1.0 release. And in here the speed limit is 45, so I'm going to bump it up. I'm on a frontage road to the highway. Here in Texas, a lot of the highways have frontage roads. They're sort of like highways besides highways. But the frontage roads, sometimes they're faster. There's less traffic on the frontage road, but you know, a frontage road, the speed limit's lower, usually maybe 50, 60 miles an hour, sometimes 45. In here it's 45. But we're right in the middle of town here. So, but I've seen them as, I think, as fast as 60 on frontage roads, which obviously the highways here are usually like 70, 75, something like that. And if you're watching overseas, that's all miles per hour, not kilometers. So, I should say outside of the United States, I don't think too many countries use mile per hour anymore. But so, you know, 75 miles an hour is more like, you know, 100 plus kilometers per hour. So I'm just signaling here. OpenPilot's merging in. And let me up the, I don't think the traffic's going to be going real fast this morning, but I'm going to up the speed to the probably 70 in here, I think this part of the highway's 70. And OpenPilot does monitor my eyes and make sure I'm watching the road. If I glance over more than a second or two to OpenPilot, it's going to start flagging me that I'm not keeping my eyes on the road enough. So you can look away for a second or two. And but if you would try to look down and say a phone or look off to the side or anything like that, OpenPilot's going to do a loud alert, tell you it's going to disengage, and you're going to have to take over. So it's a driver assist. It's not meant for you to just sit back and not watch the road or anything like that, which I think it's good. It has those safety features. It does use open source software. This hardware is from a company called Comma AI. They're based in San Diego, California. And the hardware's from there, and they also make the software, but the software is open source. So there are people that make their own versions. I just run the stock version from the company. It's already alpha software. I don't want to be, you know, going out with some lone developer out there that may or may not do enough quality assurance. So, you know, I just stick with what comes from the company and what is released. They have sort of a beta of an alpha 0.8 out there, if that makes any sense. But, you know, it's already alpha software. I'm going to stay away from that. And that's from the company. It is possible to run that right now, like testers running that. But I'm just using the 0.7, 0.10. And when 0.8 is released for everybody, that's when all... now I need to get over, but there's a car here, so let's see. Here we go. And you know what? I probably will exit here. Oh, somebody's cutting over here. Let me exit here and get off the highway. And I will head back home towards my house. I'm not going to film all the way to the house, but I'll film back I'll go back towards my house on city streets to give you an idea of and let me the speed on this ramp's 45, so let me take the cruise control down to 45, and that's probably the speed of the frontage road. 50 is the frontage road here. And there's somebody here. Let's see. So I've increased my cruise control to 50. My Toyota still thinks it's 70. It reads road signs, but it's got to have a road sign that's sort of in front of it. And it'll read this one now, 50. Let's see. Yep, just read that one. So And then OpenPilot's going to slow down here behind this van. And you can tell the van is stopped. So OpenPilot's speeding up again because the van left. So I had to use the brake to disengage. And then in here it's only 35, so let me hit resume, but I got to adjust the speed down here. So the other thing that would be useful in OpenPilot, and I believe it's going to be in before the 1.0 release, is I think it's something they're working on. I'm not quite as sure. I know stop signs and stoplights they're working on. The other thing is speed signs, and that could be useful with the cruise control because it could automatically adjust down the I didn't disengage and I'm changing lanes there. You can, you know, like I say, you can assist with the steering, you can change lanes, all that without disengaging, but if you hit the gas or the brake, it's going to disengage. But if they add these road signs, the speed limit signs, that would help with an adaptive cruise control, you know, to keep you from speeding. Basically, it could adjust up and down depending on, you know, what the speed limit is. So that would be useful. Stop signs and stoplights, of course, are useful, but it's doing all the steering in here, and it's pretty good. It can even steer on, and I disengage because I'm going to take a right. Let me thread through here. And I am manually heading out here, and then I'm going to re-engage. So you can tell it's engaged because it'll have the green border on around the let's see how it handles this car coming out. No, it did not slow down on that because he was far enough away. And something like that, if I was too close and the car was coming out, I would brake myself and disengage OpenPilot. I wouldn't try to see what it would do, but generally it's going to slow down and stop in a case like that. I don't trust it enough to find out what exactly it would do in a situation. You know, even the released one, I mean, something like that, you know, if it was too close, I'd brake. Because it is a driver assist. It's a level 2 driver assist. It's not meant to be a full self-driving. You'll see the cell phone here. It's really just a cell phone. And it has its own custom case and everything, and fan, and, you know, it doesn't have a battery. It just plugs into to power from the car. Basically, there's a wiring harness, and the wiring harness is a little Y adapter that connects in up where the camera is, the windshield camera of the Toyota. It just splits out that signal, and then it runs a kind of a flat Ethernet type cable from that splitter as well, another port on that splitter out to the ODB port. And then from that splitter, there's it's getting power from the ODB port, and it runs a USB-C cable out that to the device. So the device is powered by that. It also communicates back and forth over that USB-C. So you see, it's just a cell phone. It has a camera that's monitoring my eyes. Well, that's the face camera on a cell phone. Then it has the front camera that's doing all the vision stuff. That's just the regular front-facing camera on a cell phone. And how it works is obviously there's not a lot of brains in a cell phone. I mean, it's very advanced compared to a PC of the 1980s or even the 90s. But you know, a cell phone still has limited power, so the way this artificial intelligence, the neural network that does the vision recognition, is keeping the lane and all that, and when to slow down and speed up behind cars, that all goes back to a central place, and they run these drives and do corrections and all that on a supercomputer. It's a supercomputer of GPUs. It's just off-the-shelf NVIDIA GPUs, and they do that back in San Diego, and then they incorporate that into the intelligence, the artificial intelligence that is then used in the updates on these devices. So these devices are really just, they do the driving, they do handle the driving assist, but they don't do any of the, more processor intensive, the calculation intensive, neural network processing. That's really, and I'm going to change lanes here. That's really done at the central facility. And although I wouldn't say that their supercomputer is real sophisticated, it's not like Tesla where they're building a purpose-built supercomputer. I think that one's called Dojo. Because they do a similar thing to OpenPilot as far as doing all their calculations back at headquarters, and then sending over the air updates back out to the Teslas. And the Teslas have more sensors. That's why this full self-driving beta that's out right now for the Teslas, it can turn left or right from a stop sign and all that, because there's 8 cameras on a Tesla. I think there's 8 cameras, 12 ultrasonic sensors, and a radar, where this one basically has a radar from the car that it's utilizing, and then the camera. There's not a whole lot else that it's using. I think it may interact with the vision system sort of a little bit, but I don't think I think that's more passive. But the radar it does use. There's now there are some ports of this that do use the cameras. So there's some people that ported it to a Raspberry Pi, because this is all Linux based underneath. They port it to a Raspberry Pi, and then and it's open source. And they have that using the Bosch cameras. I think it might be on a Honda. I'm not, Bosch has cameras on various brands of cars, and I think the one he might have been using is a Honda. And so it doesn't use the cell phone up in the window on the dash. It just uses a Raspberry Pi and the Bosch camera, and I think it's using the processing that's in the Bosch camera. So it doesn't really have to process a lot of that. It's using sort of the Bosch camera does some pre-processing, and then it's grabbing that. And I'm going to slow down just a little. This is 45 in here, but the traffic's going quite a bit slower this morning than that. So that's an interesting one. I mean, I wouldn't trust that because that's a developer and some of these ports, the Comma AI teams banned the ports because they disabled safety features, and I think these safety features that Comma AI puts into OpenPilot are important. So and it's breaking now. So it's basically going through the intersection. Doesn't have any problem doing that. And the next release, 0.8, they've kind of redone some of the back-end intelligence. Like they switched to something called PyTorch, which is for part of the AI processing, and they switched part of what they're doing on the back end for the neural network, and it also recognizes more lane lines when you're going in when you have traffic on each side of you going in the same direction, you have a possibility of somebody like cutting in on you. So what it does is it looks in those other lanes more than this current version does, and it detects those cut-ins quicker. So that's something they already have in that 0.8. I've seen some videos of people that are running it, where they do demonstrate that, and it does do that, and it displays more lane lines, and it looks at road edges. It'll display road edges more. I don't look at the OpenPilot screen much. I mean, I'm watching the road, so some of that, it could be useful, but I don't look at it much. I mean, it will work well for videos like this, where you can see what's happening on the OpenPilot screen. So it will be useful, but I don't. The cut-in detection is certainly good, and they also have started doing. It's not active yet, but they've started recognizing like stop signs and stoplights. So they've already done work on that in 0.8. And I'm going to get over another lane here because I'm going to take a left up here. And let me get over in the turn lane. And so I'm going to disengage OpenPilot. And I'm going to wait for this traffic. I do have a yellow yield on turn here. And then I am going to re-engage OpenPilot. And I'm just doing that by hitting the resume on the cruise control. And I am going to drop the speed a little here down to 35. I think there's also some school zones up here on this street. We'll see. And one thing that's helpful here in Texas, at least the part I'm in North Texas and this community in particular, but most of them, they have the flashing light on the school signs when they're active, when the 20 mile an hour speed limit is active on the school signs. So there is a flashing light up here, and it's helpful that I'm going to reduce my speed down, so by the time I am even with that, I'll be going 20. And a light in front of me just turned red, so I'll have to manually stop there. And that will disengage OpenPilot. As you can see, it disengaged. Now, even when it's disengaged, it saw that car in front. It's still active in that it's looking at the vehicles and things. And you'll see there's a car turning in front of me. It should detect that. See how it's red like that? Because it's detecting those cars turning in front. So it does, and now I have a green, so I'm just hitting resume. And OpenPilot's handling the lane keep. And obviously in a school zone, I'm extra diligent. There are some kids in school here in Texas. Some are doing virtual school and some are in school, at least for now. So there definitely could be children out at this time in the morning. And I'm going to end the drive pretty soon. I mean, I'm off the freeway. I am showing you a little bit of in-town driving, and you'll see how, on the freeway there's really no intervention needed at all in town because it doesn't have the stoplights and stop signs yet. I'm having to intervene more. Looks like the speed limit is 40 here. So let me bump it up. And I do have a warning on the Toyota. It does see, speed limit signs with the built-in camera. It doesn't do anything that I know of with the cruise control. The cruise control in the Toyota is not that advanced. It works pretty good. The cruise control part, the lane keep is terrible. Now I disengaged because I wanted to slow down and get in this lane behind this guy. So I'm re-engaged now, and I'm going to follow this because I'm going to take a turn up here. So I want to be in this lane. And the Toyota, the cruise control works pretty good. The adaptive cruise control. It's not as good as OpenPilot, but it's close. It's pretty decent. It uses the radar. It uses the camera, and the camera also sees road signs, like speed signs. And will sometimes show stop signs. It won't show stop lights, but doesn't really do anything with that information. So And the lane keep is almost useless here in Texas, at least my part of Texas, because it needs really clear lane markings to work, and it's rarely usable. Once in a while out on the highway with clear lane markings, and here I'm going to turn here, so I'm disengaging, and I'm going to hit resume. But I need to get down to 30. And I'm going to turn up here, and that'll probably be the end of our drive. I'm going to disengage OpenPilot, and thank you for joining. I hope if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos, and let me disengage the cruise control, and like, subscribe, and certainly comment if there's a particular video suggestion that you have. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.